Hello everybody, I hope you're all very well. Today we are doing something very exciting, something I've wanted to do since I was a kid actually. I am working with none other than Fender on their new series of guitars, the Vintera 2 Road Worn series. This run of guitars is basically my idea of a dream come true. It is a limited edition run of guitars that are built, look and sound like the classic Fender models of the 50s and 60s, the most iconic era of music. And living up to their name, of course, the road worn aspect of the guitar is the finish that is designed to mirror that classic, aged, relic look that we all love on guitars. Fender have sent me an absolutely gorgeous 60s black Stratocaster from this series. Enough talking, let's have a look. Okay, here she is. Obviously I'm a little bit out of the shot so that you can see more of the guitar. As I'm sure you can see, this thing is a piece of art. It is absolutely lovely. It looks so good. It feels good and it sounds great, as you'll hear shortly. These guitars are obviously based on the classic 50s and 60s models. So you've got vintage tuners, you've obviously got a vintage neck, C-shaped neck. You can obviously see the road worn finish along the neck here. I mean, it's incredible. If we turn it over as well, you can see the same thing on the back there, particularly there. You got a little bit there, a couple of blemishes there. Like, it's just got that lovely kind of just aged look to it. If you look closely, the pickguard section here, this is not actually white. I'm trying to angle it so that the light isn't in there. It's quite hard to do that. But it's more of a sort of minty green as opposed to a sort of straight white. Older body, nitrocellulose lacquer. One of my favourite Beatles albums. But the most important thing, the vintage style mid-60s pickups. This is where the juice is. So we're going to take a listen now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pump this guitar through 3 different patches that I've got. The first patch represents a broken up Marshall. The second patch represents a kind of Vox sound. It's got a bit of a phaser, a bit of reverb, and is generally quite heavily affected so that you can see how this thing works in a sort of effects context, if that makes sense. And then the final patch is a really intense sort of broken up speaker, kind of very MIDI, very choky kind of John Mayer kind of patch, which basically really tests the pickups on a guitar. That's why I have it. Let's take a listen. So as you can probably hear from that first patch, the guitar is very musical sounding. You don't have to work hard to get that iconic sound out of it. And that really is because it's based on the 60s model. You know, all these iconic sounds from this iconic era, that's what's in this guitar, and that's why it sounds so good straight off the bat. So I mean, that really is the luxury that you get when you get a 60s or a 50s style Strat. So this next patch is the sound of a Vox. It's got a phaser on it, it's got a bit of reverb, and this patch is deliberately designed for a bit of funk. Put the guitar through its percussive paces a little bit. Let's see how we get on. So again, as you could probably hear, the tone is incredibly rich and the guitar sounds like it was made for funk. That's the best I've ever heard a Strat take on sort of percussive funk playing, which is why I did it. Again, just feels so musical, it's so at home there. That's because we're so used to this sound from this iconic era. You can't beat it, genuinely. Let's try this final patch. This one's a bit nasty, as I said. It's very boxy, very kind of whistly, but it will test the guitar, and if it sounds good through this patch, we are on to a winner. Let's see how we get on. Honestly, this thing is a 10 out of 10, and I'm not just saying that. This thing looks incredible, it feels incredible. Fender have set this up incredibly well. This is just the factory setup, I've not done anything to this. The thing that does it for me though, which I kind of hoped it would do, is the sound. The sound of this guitar is just incredible. With a lot of Strats, they all have that classic iconic Strat sound, but they've all got sort of varying degrees of that sound. I think the 50s and the 60s models are the sound. They are the sound that we know and love. They come from that classic era of music that we all basically grew up on. You know, that era is really where music was born, and Fender sits very comfortably within that era of history. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you like the guitar as much as I do, of course. Really appreciate everybody that follows us on here, and if you don't follow us on here, please drop us a like and a subscribe. We really appreciate it, and of course you'll be seeing us again soon. See you later.